Hello everyone, my name is Noah and welcome to this Stet Studio video. Today we are going to be looking at the Next World Tarot by Christy C. Rode. You might be able to tell it's still in its plastic. I have never looked at it other than a little bit of a copy that my friend has, they have shown me. So this is going to be a true first look and flip through like I like to do. I'm going to take some scissors and open the plastic and we're going to get started. Maybe. I wasn't exactly sure how to depict the vibes of this deck with my little trinkets and background stuff, but I think I did a good job. We've just kind of got some flowers, some pins that I have collected over the years, some crystals, and a little zine. So yeah, just kind of a hope punk sort of... Oh, I didn't mean to rip that. That's a bummer. Sort of a hope punk little like display. That's interesting that that's not printed on the back of the box. It's just a paper in there. That's better. But hope punk is something I'm very familiar with, and it's something I do with my writing. Yeah, it's just a separate piece of paper. That's cool. I would also say this deck looks like it's going to be Solarpunk, which is another sort of writing genre, but we'll find out as we get into it. This little paper says, featuring body outlaws, endangered cultures, and anti-colonial belief systems, the Next World Tarot envisions a world where justice relies on respect and revolutionary love. The Next World Tarot is a visual spectacle of both the battle cry and the reconnection between outcasts and their criminalized identities. So you can see it's got what looks like a protest, lots of different people holding signs, and yeah, it's got a sort of sunset or maybe sunrise look to it. So yeah, it's just a little piece of paper that was stuck to the back. This is the front of the box. It is indeed sort of reflective. I don't know how well you can see that. There's nothing on the back, which is probably why they put that paper back there. I like that it has the creator's name right on the box. I find that very helpful because sometimes you have to play a little bit of a guessing game or a little bit of a scavenger hunt to find it, and I think we should give credit. I really love this design here. It looks like a pansy, I think, is the flower that it's supposed to be. It's made out of barbed wire. We've got the trans symbol there, and we've got what almost looks like an anarchist A. Very stylized, but still recognizable. So we're going to open this up. Oof, there we go. It's a tight fit, but not too tight. Oh wow, look at this guidebook. I feel like I did know that the guidebook was shaped like this and then just forgot. But that's really neat. It is a little bit of a smaller deck than the standard tarot card size. I don't know if I would call it necessarily travel size, but I think it's a nice size. It's not too small. You should be able to see everything relatively easily, but it's not so large it would be cumbersome to carry. The cover of the guidebook is more of that design from the paper on the back, and it has the name of the tarot as well as the name of the creator, and, you know, name on spine. I don't know if you can see that, but it's there. And then on the back, yep, it is a pansy with barbed wire. I love that. Look how thick this guy is. That's really nice. We open it up, we've got a title page, different information about publications, and then we have a little bit of an introduction to the deck. I will read you at least some of this, if not all of it. When we're up, the system wants to tear us down. When we're down, we sink in an act of resistance or self-preservation that comes from the horror of exhaustion. How do we hold each other up in a world where oppression can be louder than self-love? The Next World Tarot is a tool for magic. Magic is essential for the head to reach the feet and for the feet to truly feel the earth, the sun, the trees, the ground, and the elements that much of humanity takes for granted. The next world is a threshold between humans and ghosts, where the spirits of our guides are sparkling behind us when we are at war. The next world aims to decolonize the stories of our grandparents, as our connections to the universe are often challenged by the fog of patriarchy and imperialism. The next world aims to dismantle the patriarchal foundation of security culture as it has silenced survivors of sexism and violence for far too long. The next world is a femme hacker, eager to out the truth and tired of compromising her body for stability. The next world is about decriminalizing black bodies, its conversations on external and internalized racism transforming into action. It's dismantling white supremacy as a universal task. The next world is accessible. It's relearning respect to the point where we can care for people with abilities different than our own, through intuitive and rapid responses. The next world is self-care as a right. The next world is reviewing our definitions of gender and respecting those of others. The next world is trans-feminist. It's understanding historical power structures about gender expression. It's intersectional, as discussing gender and race is vital to feminism. It's about elevating the revolutions required to truly elevate all women. The next world removes the patriarchal gaze that stares deeply into communities of color, the gaze that erases histories rich in gender queerness and matriarchy. The next world is a foundation for reconnecting to our ancestry and dismantling magic that's been harmed. It's being spiritual and queer and being broken or fixed, but being okay. The next world is misfits owning their cultures without guilt. It's causing a glowing rift between structured dogmatic religion and humanity's connection to the spirit world. It's nurturing the decolonized ideologies of health and wellness passed down to us by our abuelas, our elders, and our healers. The next world is breathing. It's knowing that we are safe as long as we continue to answer the tough questions in order to find lightness in justice. In the next world, we can name our darkest moments in our heads, in our closets, in our worst companionships, in our worst selves, and we can power through them. As we are accountable, as we listen, as we cry, as we let go, as we face challenges with spit and grit, we face joy unapologetically, ushering in the next world. The next world was created in 2017 with graphite pencils, micron pens, markers, acrylic paint, gel pens, and 70-some-odd friends and heroes who posed for each individual card. Over the course of 7 years, the process and team shifted multiple times, however the intention stayed the same, an illustrated oracle articulating the end of the world as we know it. All individuals illustrated in the next world represent co-conspirators, heroes, inspirations, and family living both on Earth and in the spirit world. The Next World Tarot is an oracle for revolution, as we learn to redefine revolution as the choices we make in our everyday lives. The powers that be have long been plagued by violence that attacks our bodies, our genders, our cultures, our sacred knowledge, and our Earth. Everyone deserves an outlet, a reservoir of safety, a comforting warmth in the ribcage, the space surrounding the heart. Revolution lies in our ability to manifest our truest selves, in our ability to see total justice, and in our deepest awareness of the only system greater than us, the galaxy. Love and Rage, Christy C. Road. And then it gives instructions on how to read with the Next World Tarot, you know, some good advice for reading tarot in general, how to read reversals, all that jazz. And we have some spreads. We've got a 1-card spread, a 3-card spread, the Celtic Cross, of course, and then a 3-card spread again. It's an anxiety spread. And then we go into the major arcana. So there are no pictures in this deck, but that makes sense given the size. And there's no written description of the cards either. But again, given the size of this deck book, it makes sense. So like I said, these cards feel kind of small. They're very slippy in the hand. I feel like they're gonna go flying, but that's pretty typical. The cardstock is a little bit thinner than my preference, but it's sturdy enough to not feel like it's going to disintegrate immediately. The edges have a little bit of a lip to it from where they were cut, which is kind of annoying because I can feel it and it catches on my fingers, but I think that'll probably start to fade with use. I would say these are very matte cards. They've got some borders. I do see they've got the name of the card, the number associated with it, the element and sign and planet, it looks like. So we'll have to take note of that as we go through. First, of course, we have the Fool. And it says, I think originally the sign said Yonkers, and now it says Nowhere. We've got a person sitting on a bench with a dog. They've got a backpack, some maps that are blowing away, all sorts of detritus around them. Just sort of lost in that moment of seeing the world around them, perhaps. That is how I interpreted it. I love that the dog's purple. That's such a fun, cute little detail, and I really love this color palette. That is one of the things that drew me to this deck, other than the general vibe. And then we have the Magician. We have a person sitting, reading their book. Even though they're sitting, oh, they've got a tablet there too. I really feel like they're about ready to get up and do something, like they see something happening off card and they're ready to go deal with it, perhaps, or interact with it. We've got feminist theory, herbal medicine. I think that blue one might say fatherhood. I can't read the green one. But they're sitting underneath a bridge. We've got maybe the light of day, depending on where they are. Like what direction they're facing, could be sunrise or sunset, but yeah, they're definitely ready to get up and go. So even though they're seated, I still see that action energy that you get from the Magician typically. It's associated with Earth and the sign Virgo and Mercury, the planet. Then we have the High Priestess. I absolutely love her. She's so pretty, sitting at the beach. I kind of wish I was at the beach right now, honestly. She's got all sorts of tools. She also looks like she's maybe been, not necessarily interrupted, but she's in the middle of something, just like the Magician. The Magician was perhaps studying or making notes. She is, I can't tell what she's doing. It looks like maybe she's rolling something. She's got some candles, the moon's there. She just looks very comfortable where she is, and you are approaching her, and she has knowledge. She's really just, you know, got that High Priestess energy, that sort of serene, mysterious, inward, self-knowing energy. We've got the pile of pomegranates behind them. It says that this card's associated with water, the sign of Cancer, and the moon. So I guess they're not planets, they're celestial bodies. Planets and the sun and the moon. And then we've got the Empress, who is sitting on maybe coral, some sort of rocky outcropping, holding a plant. And I love her hair. I love how her hair looks like a mountain, the way it comes out like that. It's shaped like a mountain or a volcano, something very strong and grounded, because she is associated with Earth and Taurus. And she's got some flame and a plant. So while I say she, they, well, they are very much associated with creation and strength. It's not in like a pregnancy or giving birth to a human way. It is more of a Mother Nature or plant spirit almost type way. So like I said, Earth, Taurus, Venus. And again, I absolutely love these color palettes. That's one thing I forgot to mention. It's been a while since I did one of these, but I am also an artist. You can check out my other videos if you're interested in that. But I love looking at these decks with an artist's eye as well as a tarot reader's eye. This is something I talked about on Blue Sky recently. I was talking about how the color palette of individual cards as well as the color story of the whole reading can affect the reading and how you interpret things. So we have the Teacher, which is instead of the Emperor, which makes sense given the anti-colonial nature of this deck. They're sitting on a throne made out of books. The book they're holding is called The Bridge Called My Back, written by radical women of color. And we've got, it's associated with fire, a sign of Aries, and Mars. One thing I'm noticing is the way this person is sitting. I would almost call that a 4 position, the way your legs are. If you're looking at it, maybe from top down, it looks like a 4. I don't know how integral that is to reading this card, but the Emperor, or in this case, the Teacher, is the 4 in the major arcana. We have the Messenger instead of the Hierophant. Again, that makes sense. The Hierophant is a religious term. It comes from Catholicism, meaning like a sort of spiritual teacher, but I think messenger works really well. Someone coming to share knowledge, share information, does give a lot of the same energy as the Hierophant. So we have a person here giving a speech to perhaps a protest or an assembled crowd of some kind, and they're speaking in a way so that people can hear them. They've got microphones. They're not trying to be stingy with what they say. They want everyone to hear what they have to say. They're not being selective. And it seems like they're really empowering, exciting the crowd that's around them. You can see people have got their fists raised. It's very energetic. I think the color palette on this is really interesting because we have the flash of red there and her blue shirt, whereas everything else kind of matches together. But I think it's fun. It doesn't necessarily blend together. And I think that, how many times could I say I think? Take a sip of water every time I say I think, and you will be super hydrated. I think this card really works well because it still has the same sort of above you energy without it being religious or dogmatic. The Hierophant card, typically speaking, has a person on a throne up some stairs and there are people approaching them, whereas this person has people all around them. They're on a stage speaking, but it is very much not like, come and I will whisper the secrets of the universe to you, child. It's, I want everyone to be able to hear what I have to say if they want to. This card is associated with Earth, Taurus sign, and the planet Venus. And then we have the Lovers, and I absolutely love this card. Appropriate. We have someone stepping out of a mirror, so it really kind of shows self-love, perhaps, or maybe a past or future version of themselves, which is still self-love, but maybe it's this person saying, I, didn't used to love myself, but I can look back on myself and love myself now. Or maybe they're two separate people. It could be whatever you want it to be, but I really read it as a message of self-love, of saying, you know, I used to be really hard on myself. I used to really dislike myself for various reasons, but now I can love myself again. And I am different than I was then, but both me now and me then are worthy of love. As you can see, we've got, I'm not sure what the person in the mirror is holding. It looks like spoons. I think maybe they're giving them, the past self is giving the current self some spoons or some energy. I don't know if you are familiar with spoon theory. I'll leave a link to it down below, but I think that might be what's going on there. They're both wearing the same necklace. They've got the same color hair. I think they are the same person. But yes, as a person who has struggled a lot with dysphoria and dysmorphia, I really like the idea of a lover's card being loving yourself, both past, present, and future. And it's associated with air, the sign Gemini, and the planet Mercury. And we have the Chariot. I absolutely love that they have two little elephants and they're on what looks like a futuristic planet. That really gives that sort of movement. They're out walking, but not only that, they're in the future. They've moved forward. Who knows what's going on? They're exploring. They're in new territory. I love that. And I love how fabulous the main character here looks, all dressed up. So nice. So it's associated with the element of water, the sign of Cancer, and the moon. We've got strength. Oh, I love that. It's someone who looks really physically strong and they're taking care of a little teeny tiny baby plant. So it's sort of their strength and gentleness and the ability to know how and when to use your strength. That's really nice. I like that interpretation of the strength card. Yeah, it's just a person kind of hanging out with their plants. I love that. That's so cute. Associated with the element of fire, the sign of Leo, and the sun. And we have the Hermit. Oh, this person's doom scrolling, I bet. They've got a Rubik's Cube, all sorts of things that you can maybe do on your own. Oh, they're not doom scrolling, they're playing maybe a Game Boy, but it's, you know, how you used to have to connect them for Pokemon, like to exchange Pokemon, stuff like that, like combo play. That's what's going on, but they don't have a player 2. Aw, maybe they don't want a player 2, but it just kind of, since they're using that, something that is meant for 2 people rather than the Rubik's Cube, which is meant for 1 person, maybe it indicates that they do want a player 2. They want to be in community or connection with someone, rather than the more typical, I need time on my own, I want to be on my own. So it shows that opposite side of perhaps being a hermit too much or for too long. Ooh, we didn't talk about the stuff at the bottom on this one. We have Earth, the sign of Virgo, and Mercury. Then we have the Wheel of Fortune. And I've been playing a lot of Animal Crossing, so the first thing that comes to mind with this thing the person's holding is the kits to move the houses and stuff. I know that's not what that is. I think it might be like a kit for maybe mutual aid. We've got all sorts of wheels, bike wheels, film reels. We've got books, we've got hammers, we've got fruits. Just a lot of wheels, a lot of movement. And I don't know, I really like the way that they have. It looks like they have some tools. They'll be able to, you know, not necessarily fix things, but they have tools to deal with the wheel turning and the highs and the lows. I really like that because a lot of times I feel like I'm at the mercy of the Wheel of Fortune if I'm going to pull that card. So it's nice to see someone who maybe isn't, or at least not entirely. It's associated with fire, Sagittarius, and Jupiter. Then we have Justice, and this is the image that's on the guidebook, as well as that paper that was on the back of the deck. So we have someone dressed as the Statue of Liberty. We have people protesting. I wonder if we look at them, if we'd see people from previous cards. I'm not sure. This person's face here with the flower crown was one that really stood out to me when I was looking at the paper on the back of the book. That's why I added all the little paper flowers around that you see. It's interesting. There's a flamingo there. I didn't notice that or really take it in. But yeah, it's just a protest. It's, you know, a fusion of energy, of action. Justice is an action, not necessarily a state of being, is the message I'm getting in this moment. Air, Libra, Venus, and it's number 11. Which is fun because my birthday is October 11th and I'm a Libra. And then we have suspension, which would be the hanged man, the hanged one, any of those words, any of those terms. But here it is, suspension. And I really, really like how they're just sort of there in space. They don't need to be grounded in any sort of setting because they're really sort of in this moment, just germinating, processing, integrating. I'm trying to think of the word, what you would call it when a caterpillar's in a chrysalis. Just not crystallizing, but, you know, becoming who they need to be or who they will be for this stage in their life. They're hanging from a horseshoe, which I think is a fun little detail. It's something different. The thing that stands out to me the most with this card really is just that they're just there, and I really like that. It's associated with the element of water, the sign of Pisces, and Neptune. And then we have Death. And I really, really like this card. Death is my favorite card out of the major arcana, so quite often do I like Death. I'm not sure if it'll be the favorite of this deck, but it is one that is often my favorite, as it is my overall favorite of the major arcana. I really enjoy these sort of Western vibes I'm getting. They're in a desert or some other arid space. There's a person on a horse, and I'm getting almost Day of the Dead vibes. I really like their tattoos, especially the flower ones, as I have flower tattoos. Maybe I'm biased, but it kind of makes me think of Landback, the idea that everything ends, even white supremacy. We will evolve, the land will return to the people who were its original stewards. And that's just sort of the energy I get, not so much the death of a person or an individual being, just ends of eras and that sort of evolution. And it's associated with the element of water, the sign Scorpio, and the planet Mars. And then we have Temperance. And this person looks like maybe a fallen angel almost. Obviously their wings still could be working, but I get fallen angel energy from them perhaps. And they are pouring a bottle of something, maybe it's soda, maybe it's alcohol, maybe it's olive oil, into this puddle here, and there's this sort of glowy reflection that doesn't match the sky, so maybe they're seeing another world, or maybe it's a reaction of whatever's in the bottle with whatever's the puddle's made out of. And there's a sort of pile of bottles behind them, which makes me think of maybe they've been trying each one to find the right one, find the right thing, the right component for this potion, this concoction, to make the right balance. And then behind them is maybe a city. I think of like a post-apocalyptic city, a city in ruins. I don't know, I really like the sort of apocalyptic dystopian energy here. They're sad. I think I do see a tear in their eye here. But they're still trying something. They're still doing something, even if it's, you know, born of desperation. It's associated with the element of fire, the sign Sagittarius, and the planet Jupiter. And then we have the Devil. This card's very detailed. I'm going to lean my head in and try not to get in your way. We've got groups of people in the background, older white man shaking hands with, it looks like someone in a white robe. We've got bald eagles. We've got, oh, they're not fish, they're bombs. Okay, that makes more sense. We've got a shark with dollar signs in his mouth. We've got people holding babies, people reading televisions, children fighting or playing. Just this really complex vignette of a lot of things happening. And at the top it says, dissolve the empire undertaking. And then along the bottom it says, the new order of the ages. So I really just get a lot of, we are our own worst enemies. The call is coming from inside the house. We can't pretend this is not us. From this card, there's no way to say, you know, these things that are happening in America, for example, since I'm American, aren't American. They are. They're representative of things that have always happened. Maybe you're just now learning about them or seeing them, or they're affecting you for the first time, but they are, you know, an American way of life, so to speak. This card is associated with the element of Earth, the sign of Capricorn, and the planet Saturn. And then we have Revolution. I think this would be the Tower, normally. We have no blood for oil. We've got people protesting. I see bits of pipelines. I see wells. We've got people in the front that look like they could use a good meal, and they're pretty scared. We've got plants that have sort of this little beacon of hope here pushing back against all of the industry and the flames. It says, defend the sacred. There's so much going on in this card. I feel like I could stare at it for a long time. That's something I really like about this deck, I've noticed. There are some cards that are really, really dense with imagery. They don't all need to be, or it would be overwhelming to look at. Your spreads might be really unbalanced. but I'm really appreciating when there are cards with a lot of detail. It's really impactful. I feel like it's very well done. We have the element of water associated with this card, Scorpio, and Mars. And then we have the star, more pouring of water, sort of life-giving, hope-affirming. We've got butterflies, we've got caterpillars. They're getting ready to turn into butterflies. The star is a card that I really like because, it's by design, after the struggle of the tower, or in this case, revolution, we have this breath of fresh air, this hope, this moment of joy. And I think that's really necessary because revolution, tower moments are really hard. So this card is associated with air, Aquarius, and Uranus, or Uranus, depending on how you pronounce it. And then we have the moon. We've got a person sitting on a rock with a little birdie and a dog and the lobster, of course. And they're just kind of looking up at the vastness of space, which does feel like moon energy. That's sort of looking up and being like, it looks like a wall of stars or a bowl of stars, but it's not. I know it goes on forever, but that's hard to conceive of. Really matches the uncertainty of the moon in my mind. We have water, Cancer, and the moon, of course. And then we have the sun. We've got a young one sitting, looking up at the sun or up at the sky, and they've got flowers around them, and they're happy and warmed by the glow of the sun, and things are just hopeful. And I really like the way this card is depicted. I find the child in the Rider-Waite-Smith sun to be a bit creepy, but this young one is definitely not. They're very joyful. They've got fun, bright colored clothes. They've got bracelets. They've got hair adornments. They're just celebrating their life and living in a way that's authentic to them. We've got the element fire, Leo, and the sun. We move on to judgment. And we've got this person sort of looking at the world around them, maybe saying, I can't believe this is the world I live in. That's sort of the expression I get from them. Then we have a banner back here that looks like it says, I can't breathe. This says NYPD, and then something else. We believe, we belong. I don't know. And there's all sorts of signs, lots of Black Lives Matter signs. We've got people hollering or shouting, communicating, people on top of lights, signs, just a sort of chaotic city, and that sort of moment of looking out at the world and being like, this is where we are as a society, as a species. And it's associated with the element of fire, the sign Aries, and the planet Mars. We have the world. This person looks like they're dancing. They're very joyful. They're less set in a scene, just like the card for the Hanged Man. I don't remember what the name is in this deck, but they're very much outside of that. And I think that works really well for the world because the world is very much a moment of completion. The person in the deck representing the moment or the state of being is complete. It's that moment of culmination. And they really don't need a setting around them to make them any more than they are because they are complete. I love the motion and fluidity of this person. Even though they're standing still, you can see with the curves and the muscles and everything, the fluidity of the figure. And now into the minor arcana. We've got the Ace of Wands. And I see that it's no longer the element, sign, and planet/celestial body. We have a phrase at the bottom. So the Ace of Wands is the roots of fire. So that does make this a little bit more like an oracle deck. I noticed they use the word oracle in the guidebook, which I thought was interesting considering this is the Next World Tarot. But I feel like you could use it either way, and that's fine. Honestly, you could use any tarot deck probably as an oracle deck, as long as you're willing to figure out what the cards mean to you and go from there. We have this eruption of this plant that is on fire out of the ground, that sort of beginning, just... And we have the Two of Wands. Oh, interesting. And then it says Dominion and Mars and Aries. So I don't know if this is a keyword or something else, but we have a planet and a sign down here. And I do not know that much about astrology, so I cannot tell you, for example, what Mars and Aries means. I'm sorry. We have this person standing here holding, it almost looks like a mace or a morning star, the way that the wand or whatever it is held. And they look like they're looking at us like they're trying to make a decision, which is very Two of Wands. We have the Three of Wands. This person is in a post-apocalyptic library, it looks like, and it says Foresight, Mars in Aries. And they are wearing, I see, an inverted pink triangle badge, which is in reference to the symbol put on gay men in World War II by the Third Reich. So this person, I feel like, definitely knows a lot about their past and sort of where they've come from and what's led to this moment, but they also have foresight. They're looking forward. They want to move on from this place they're in. They look very sad. And we have the Four of Wands, which is Harmony and Venus in Aries, and they're playing oh my gosh, what is that instrument? Accordion. They're playing an accordion, perhaps for a crowd, perhaps on their own, but it looks like there's a bit of peace in this moment, sort of a happy peace, a calm peace. Not super celebratory, but not celebratory. Maybe it's a moment in the middle of the journey where they're able to stop at an inn and just take a breath. They're gonna have to keep going. They're gonna have to get the ring to Mordor, but in this moment, they can listen to some music. We have the Five of Wands, which is strife and Saturn in Leo. We've got, looks like a sharps box back there, an axe. I can't read what that is, and I don't know what those plants are. But this person looks like they're really kind of like, ugh, these things around me make me unhappy, almost. So I wonder if they will do something about it, if they'll leave the space, change the space, maybe learn to work with what's in the space. But I don't know. And then we have the Six of Wands, which is Victory and Jupiter in Leo. And they're sitting on two cushions on top of this hard surface that say Rebirth and Decolonization. And I think this is also very similar to the Four of Wands in a way, but maybe a little bit more joyful, a little bit more happy. Something has been accomplished. It might not be the end of the war, but it's the end of the battle. They've won. They're, celebrating. They're joyful. Things have improved. We have the Seven of Wands, which is courage and Mars in Leo. We have this person doing maybe a ritual or something with these candles, and behind them we have police, we have riot gear, we have enemy, we have danger, and the red clouds really emphasize that as well. That could be tear gas, it could just be metaphorical, but this person is sitting with their plants and their candles and having some sort of moment, just being in this moment, doing what they need to do, summoning their courage. That's really beautiful. Then we have the Eight of Wands. I love the Eight of Wands here. Direct action, Mercury in Sagittarius. That says truth bombs. This person's running along. They've got things to share. Enthusiasm. They're getting what needs to be given to the people. We have the Nine of Wands, which is resilience, Moon and Sagittarius. And they've got 9 guitars. This one also has the inverted pink triangle on the banjo, so I guess they're not all guitars. We also have a ukulele, but there's a sticker there that says Act Up. That's a slogan from the era of the AIDS crisis. I also spy a little Furby there in the background. This person has definitely worked at their craft. They've practiced a lot. Maybe they're getting better. Maybe they're not great, but it's still important for them to play music, so they do. That's definitely the energy I get from this. And then we have the Ten of Wands, which says completion, Saturn and Sagittarius. I cannot read whatever the person is holding. I can't tell what that says, unfortunately. If someone else can tell, let me know down below. I don't necessarily know how to interpret this card. Maybe the thing that this person is holding is something they wrote. They've completed this zine, this pamphlet, this whatever it is, and they're ready to put it out into the world. That might be what's going on there. And we have the Page of Wands, the Home of Fire. Very punk little person. I was gonna say little guy slash genderless. They've got some lizard friends, which, if you don't know, salamanders are associated with fire, which wands are the suit associated with fire, so that makes sense. But they're very much definitely ready to go on a journey. Something has happened. We are in this post-apocalyptic landscape, but honestly, we don't know that. This could just be a city with a lot of litter. But whatever's going on here, they are ready to go. They're about to stand up and go off on their journey, their quest, wherever it is they need to go. We have the Knight of Wands. This person is already on their journey. It says the fire starter. I like that. I like that a lot. We've got a staff that's on fire. This person has a staff too, but it's not yet on fire. I love that progression from one to the other. And they've got birds of some kind, perhaps eagles or falcons or hawks circling them. Yeah, and they're on their journey. They are going, they are doing. They're not done yet, and maybe they're sometimes a little too overeager, but they are going, they are doing. We have the Queen of Wands, the throne of determination. Oh, I love this queen. I love them so much. They're so fun. Looking out at us from this forest, they definitely give that energy, that creative power that the Queen of Wands holds. We have the King of Wands, the Throne of Fire, and they are seated, which makes sense given that the kings are the most sort of stable, complete of the 4 court cards. They've got a wand, they've got an Ouroboros necklace. They are in control of their creative power, and they know what they want to do. Oh, and then we've got the Ace of Pentacles, which I am just now realizing are the cards with no people in them. That's fun. The Roots of the Earth. And it is some sort of crystalline structure that has erupted up out of the earth, but is still of the earth. I like that a lot. We have the Two of Pentacles. We've got 2 folks here. Intersection. Jupiter in Capricorn. We have a very free spirit, almost manic pixie dream girl type person. And this person here who's trying to be perhaps within the system but still make a difference, but the clothing doesn't fit. Perhaps they don't quite fit within the system. Whereas this person is very much outside of the system already. I think they might be the person in the, was it the Revolution card? This card. See, the birthmark or depigmented spot seems to be the same, perhaps. Although I suppose that could just be sunshine. It definitely looks like a person who perhaps wants to make a difference within the system. Their briefcase says women's rights are human rights. And they're trying to give this flower to this person who already has a bunch of flowers, that has already made a place for themselves outside of the system. I think it's interesting that it's a white mask. I don't know if they're a man, woman, neither. Person talking to a black femme person. That feels potent right there. And then we have the Three of Pentacles, which is the team, and it's Mars and Capricorn. Points of unity. So this is a group that's trying to accomplish something together, and perhaps they are a non-hierarchical group. Maybe they're activists, maybe they're protesters, maybe they're just a community that wants to create something for themselves, but whatever it is, they're in it together. And we have the Four of Pentacles, which is a DJ of some kind, or perhaps a radio host. Arsenal, Sun in Capricorn. This makes me think of Three Dog from Fallout. I forget, is that New Vegas? That Three Dog is in one of the characters. There is a radio DJ, and I believe in every Fallout game, at least the ones I've played and seen, but that's what it reminds me of a bit of. The idea of communication being a weapon, being an asset. I like that a lot. We have the Five of Pentacles, Turmoil, Mercury, and Taurus. And I know a lot of us can really relate to this right now. Looking out at the cities we live in, the spaces we live in, and saying, what is happening? If any of you are feeling this right now, I'm so sorry. And I wish I could give you a hug and do something to make it better in this moment. But we will persist, we will exist, and we will continue, which is what persist means. Me trying to be poetic on the fly. Then we've got the Six of Pentacles, which is redistribution, and Moon and Taurus. We've got disaster relief, water, it looks like, first aid. So these are people that are somewhere after a natural disaster. Perhaps it looks like a tropical place. Those look like palm trees. I don't know where palm trees grow. Somewhere. But yeah, mutual aid. Really important. Then we have the Seven of Pentacles, which is Vision, Saturn, and Taurus. And it looks like perhaps they're selling jewelry. You've got all these choices up there. We've got some Puerto Rican flags. We've got a little dog. I love that. I love them. This is so fun. I love that the string of beads comes out like we are holding it. We are connected to these choices, even if we don't know which one to make. And then we have the Eight of Pentacles, which is creation, and Sun in Virgo. This is fun. I love all of the stacks of paperwork, all of the stacks of writing, whatever this is, whatever they've generated. They're so proud of it. Oh, I love it. I hope they're working towards something good, something that makes a difference. Okay, I moved the discard pile, so to speak, over here, so the shadow's not being cast on these now that this is shorter than that. But we have the Nine of Pentacles, which is self-sufficiency, and Venus in Virgo. Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. It's interesting. They've got a lot of things, a lot of what they need, but I think they're probably still going to have to return to community at some point to get other things. There's not enough to eat, it looks like. They don't have quite everything they need. But at the same time, you can't deny that they have done a lot. They have got a lot of stuff. They've created a space for themselves. That's work that's been done and shouldn't be dismissed. So yeah, I like this Nine of Pentacles. It's not exactly how I would have thought to do this, but that's why I love looking at other people's decks and getting to, you know, a peek into their mind almost in terms of what they think of the cards in terms of the theme of this deck. And then we have the Ten of Pentacles, security, and Mercury in Virgo. Oh, I love that. We have a person on a tightrope, but they're not concerned. They're smiling. They're relaxed. They've got this. They know how to do this. They, you know, tightrope walk all the time. And I love that with the moons there, it's kind of like no matter the phase of the moon, no matter the phase of life, they know that they've got this. They've survived everything that's happened so far, and they're going to keep surviving. Love this card. And then we have the Page of Pentacles, or the Home of Ideas. Look like they might be a tattoo apprentice to me, and I am only saying apprentice simply because it's a page, and that is sort of the apprentice stage, in my opinion. Yeah, they look like they're pretty confident and they know what they're doing, but maybe they're, you know, not quite all the way there yet, but they're well on their way. And then we've got the Knight of Pentacles, the methodical approach. I like that. I like that even though they're on a bike and they could keep going, they're stopped to look at this crystal and compare it to the one they're holding. That is a very Knight of Pentacles way of looking at things. The Knight of Pentacles is often considered the sort of slowest knight, the least impulsive, but on the other hand, they're the most likely perhaps to get stuck because they're overthinking everything, because they might be almost too practical. Definitely something I can relate to. And then we have the Queen of Pentacles in this absolutely awesome sort of spaceship. Their title is The Throne of Sanctuary. Oh, I love that. I love their cape, their hat. They've got all the stuff that they need around them. They've got a plant that they're nurturing to bring in that nurturing energy. Their chair is one of those ones that it looks like maybe it folds up into a sort of ladder or something, which is very practical, very pentacle-y. I love that. I love this Queen of Pentacles. They're so fun. And then we have the King of Pentacles, the Throne of Security. And they're on a star, kind of like in Hollywood Boulevard, I think is what it's called. But it's also very Yellow Brick Roadish. There's a lot going on here. I like the fact that they are kind of... They're very empowered. They're very focused, I think is what I want to say. And despite the sharp, pokey things around them in the seeming wilderness, like, they're on their way. They're going where they want to be. They're not scared of the journey. And then we have the Ace of Swords, the Roots of Action. Oh, I absolutely love that. I have a red multi-tool. Does not quite have that many things, but I do have a red multi-tool. So maybe I'm just a little bit biased, but I do really love that. I love the sort of potentiality of it. And we have the Two of Swords, protection, the Moon in Libra. This is that sort of not quite out of your comfort zone yet. You have to like maybe make the choice to come out of it, but you haven't yet. I love that they're sitting on a toilet. Again, that's a personal association, I suppose you could say. There's something in Pittsburgh called the Pittsburgh potty. People tend to put toilets in random places in houses in Pittsburgh, particularly old houses, so that's what it makes me think of, and I kind of like that. It's a fun play on the word throne. They're not a king, but they are on a throne. And we have the Three of Swords, which is sorrow, Saturn in Libra. I love the sort of shadows in the background. It's not quite grounded in a space or time like some of the other cards we've seen have not been. And this one, I like the sort of distortion of it, because when we're feeling strong emotions, we have big emotions like in the Three of Swords. I say we, I mean me. I'm sure it applies to other folks as well. Things can become distorted in that moment. We may interpret something in a way that's was not meant to be interpreted, and that doesn't necessarily mean that it isn't hurtful, but in that moment, there's a lot of emotion, there's a lot of thoughts racing. We might not be able to put things together in the most logical way. And the swords are the suit associated with like intellect, logic, thoughts, the mind. So it's interesting that this is where I went with this card when I first saw it. We have the Four of Swords, which is respite, Jupiter in Libra. And I mean, that really is kind of what the Four of Swords is, a moment of respite. It might be seen as sort of a retreat or a defeat, but it's really not. It's that, you know, maybe it is a defeat or a retreat, but it mostly is that time to rest and regain strength. And then we have the Five of Swords. She's holding some sort of plant, maybe a yam or a sweet potato, not the same thing, and a microscope outside of a city. Survival and Venus in Aquarius. The Five of Swords is often very conflict-based, but I think that in this card I'm reading it as more of doing what you need to do to survive, even if they might be the right thing at the moment, but overall they kind of lead to a lose-lose situation. But if you want to survive the moment, maybe you have to do something you don't really like. I don't know. And we have the Six of Swords, which is passage, and Mercury in Aquarius. I think maybe they're hitchhiking or waiting for a bus or something. But definitely a very Six of Swords moment. They're leaving. They're going out of where they are now, out of their community perhaps, into a new one, or maybe they're going out to be on their own for a while, channel out some of that hermit energy. We have the Seven of Swords, escape, Moon in Aquarius. Again, leaving, going out. This one is more of a, like they say, escape. They're perhaps running away, but their chin is still held high. They are in control to some extent. This escape is on their terms. Maybe they're leaving before they're forced to leave. And did I say Moon in Aquarius? If I didn't, I did now. We have the Eight of Swords, restriction, Jupiter in Gemini. And they're holding some sort of plant. It might be a cacao pod, like the fruit that chocolate comes from. And there's a dead tree behind them. I like that sort of veiny, spreading out look. They look like they're trapped, but they're really not. They just have to step over that line of whatever that red is, or over the candles, and they'll be free. The Nine of Swords, despair, Mars in Gemini. Definitely looks like a person who's lost all hope, just sitting there smoking their cigarettes. No idea what to do next. But it does give that sort of desolate energy. Oh my goodness. This Ten of Swords, ruin, Sun in Gemini. That face is absolutely horrifying, and I love it. I feel like it's so appropriate. You got these 10 swords stabbing them in the back quite literally. They might already be dead, or maybe they're dying. It's definitely 10 of Swords. And we have the Page of Swords, the home of action. They're breaking into an area, or out of an area maybe, that says do not enter. They're making it so you can enter and exit. I love that. That's so potent. And we've got the Knight of Swords, the escape plan. Maybe they need to get involved with the Seven of Swords. They're ready to go. They're, you know, ready to start a revolution. And we have the Queen of Swords, the Throne of Truth. Their dress says limp wrist. I like the idea of it being truth rather than just coldness, which is often what's associated with the Queen of Swords. She's just a cold, cruel, calculating person. I like rather that this Queen of Swords, they give you the truth, what you need to hear, whether you want to or not. And then we have the King of Swords, which is the Throne of Knowledge, and they have a drill. Perhaps they built this dock, this deck, this thing they're standing on out over the water. They have that sort of practical knowledge as well as, you know, academic knowledge. And then we have the Ace of Cups, and I think this is a water lily flower, and we have the roots of water. I really like this because it sort of, implies that there's a lot going on underneath that we can't necessarily see, and that ties back into emotions, which is what the Suit of Cups is associated with. That sort of subconscious feeling. We have the Two of Cups, connection, Venus in Cancer. These two hugging on each other, loving on each other, whether it's romantic love or platonic love. They're so happy to be together. Got 2 cups of water or bubbly water or something. I suppose it could be straight vodka, but it doesn't look like wine. I was gonna say it's not alcohol. Yeah, they're together in this moment and they love each other, and that's what the Two of Cups is all about. We have the Three of Cups, joy, Mercury and Cancer. I love how they're sitting underwater for this. They're just submerged in their emotions and their joy. We have the Four of Cups. Notice, they're not touching the water. They're on a wooden raft. Maybe they feel like they don't have any emotions, but they're not looking at them around them. There's so much that you could go to look at this. They're painting their nails instead of paying attention to what's around them. Then we have the Five of Cups, loss, Mars in Scorpio. Even if the person demarcated by that stone isn't the person that they've definitely lost someone, and that's what this is making them think of. And we've got the Six of Cups, reunion, Sun in Scorpio. I love this. As a person who is really interested in and takes a lot of time to share about and create art relating to queer and trans history, I love the thought of elders being able to share their joy and their stories with the descendants, whether that is a literal child or just someone that's younger than them. Yeah, that's really sweet. I love that. And then we have the Seven of Cups, imagination, Venus in Scorpio. I love how they're dressed, and they're just kind of like, ta-da, I'm out of the closet. The world is mine. I can do whatever I want. We have the Eight of Cups. That is a Dr. Seuss looking bike if I've ever seen one. It's abandon, Saturn in Pisces. I love that. They're soaring above everything. Maybe it's not logical, maybe it doesn't make sense, but they are free. And then we have the Nine of Cups, happiness, Jupiter in Pisces. I see this more as sort of finding happiness where you can, even if it's imperfect, rather than the typical be careful what you wish for that I read usually in the Nine of Cups. And I like that. I think that reminding ourselves that happiness does not mean perfection is important, because if we are expecting everything to feel perfect when we have what we want, when we're happy, we're never going to feel truly happy. We're never going to, be where we want to be, because perfection is never going to happen. And then we have the Ten of Cups, safety, Mars in Pisces. Oh, they've got a little kitty cat, and they're together in this world. And things might not be perfect outside. They might not feel safe outside of this space, but in this space, they're safe. It's their home. They're together. That's what's important. And then we have the Page of Cups, the home of expression. I don't necessarily immediately get anything from this other than a sense of melancholy. They're looking down at these papers under their feet and the vines that are growing out from the garden across the sidewalk. Maybe these papers are something they dropped or something they lost. I don't know. This is not a card that I immediately have any sort of spark of inspiration towards, but that's okay. That's what working with the deck is for. Building that relationship and taking time to interpret the cards. That's also what the guidebook is for. I usually get into this during this part so that I can read you some descriptions, but I didn't. I forgot. I was so into the deck that I just... Then we have the Knight of Cups, the love song. Oh, that's so perfect. They're holding up this cup of emotions to you, to the viewer, saying, here's my love for you, here's my devotion, my obsession, my whatever towards you. And are you going to take it? Are you going to say no? That's a really fun way to look at the Knight of Cups, and I love it. And then we have the Queen of Cups, the throne of emotion, and I think this might be my favorite card. I love this Queen of Cups so much with their bushy beard and all their layers and frills and their little dog and the tentacles holding up the cups of coffee. I love that so much. They're surrounded by an ocean of emotions. Try saying that 5 times fast. Ocean of emotions, ocean of emotions, ocean of emotions, ocean of emotions, ocean of emotions. I did it. Oh my gosh. But they're not swamped. They are in control. They're not overwhelmed. And then finally, we have the King of Cups, the Throne of Movement. I absolutely love this. This depiction of the king not as something so still and observational, but moving. And you have the wheelchair as the representation of a literal throne that moves. That is so fun. And they're on some sort of land bridge, so they've got the water all around them, but they're able to go. They're able to, you know, move, flow with their emotions, work through them in their own way and not get stuck in a way that would be really unhealthy. So that is the Next World Tarot. I really like this deck. I think it's going to be really fun to work with. And I see that my battery is blinking, saying that it is low. So I think we should finish up with this real quick. I like to end these deck flip-throughs by pulling the first card for the deck. I feel like that's a really fun way to do this. And the King of Cups popped right back out. That is so fun. Let's see what it says so I can give you an example of these card descriptions in here. Let's see, what is this in the back? All right, this is the King of Cups. We have the King of Cups as the space between gentle and tough love. She runs on awareness of logic while maintaining a soft, open heart. She is a healed healer who fights through unlimited access to her highest self. The King also asks you to instigate balance. The King asks you to instigate balance in your world. Of all the lessons manifesting in the next world, the King mastered a lesson that strengthens all others. She can navigate intellect and emotions without demeaning her own or anyone else's humanity. She asks you to articulate your wounds and your vulnerabilities in order to watch them heal. She asks that you be fully present for your creative and emotional investments, that as they will eventually hold you. The King of Cups reminds us that we are the masters of our success. Honor your gifts while you trek for that internal voice that echoes the King's collected rage and unconditional love. So yeah, that's the little guidebook. This deck is really cool. I really like it. I feel like it's going to be a lot of fun to work with. It's fun to shuffle, although I will say, like you saw with the King of Cups, things kind of slip out easily, and you can see I'm accidentally flipping them over quite a bit, but honestly, I think it's something I'll get used to and something that as I work with this deck and the size of it won't be such an issue. But if you really don't like slippy cards, this might not be a deck for you, but I think it's fine. It's slippy, but it's not too slippy. It's not as bad as the Modern Witch Tarot. That was a deck that I feel like was probably too slippery if I remember correctly. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I had a lot of fun with this. I haven't done one of these in quite a while, but there are lots of tarot and oracle deck videos on this channel. There are also lots of videos about my art. There are studio vlogs. There's all sorts of fun stuff. So yeah, if you'd like to stick around, you can subscribe, ring the bell, all that good stuff to let me know that you want to see more videos. You can also like this video if you liked it, dislike the video if you disliked it, but if you disliked it, why are you here? Go drink some water, touch some grass, hug a loved one. Go do something else. You can also, if you'd like, leave me a comment. Have you ever used this deck? Are there any other decks that you feel like would go well with this? What deck are you using the most right now? I love to talk tarot, so whatever you're interested in, I'm excited to hear it. I think that's everything that I'm supposed to ask you to do. So I hope whatever day, morning, evening you're having is an excellent one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.